Unexpected betrayal. My beloved brother hired a hitman to murder me, then stole my fiancée. Let me ask you a question. Have any of you ever been pursued by a hitman before? You're probably thinking that's a very strange question, because such things only happen in movies, right? Well, you're absolutely wrong, because that's exactly what happened to me in real life. My name is Bob Stinson, and today I'm going to tell you a story that gives me goosebumps every time I reminisce about it. My ex-fiancée Clover and I met at a local bar. Unlike other girls, it was Clover who took the initiative to strike up a conversation, leaving a lasting impression on me. Following that night, our romance blossomed, and we swiftly found ourselves deeply in love. After nearly a year of dating, our relationship flowed very peacefully. Clover and I even took the next step by getting engaged. However, a terrible accident happened to me right before the wedding, altering the course of everything. One day, Clover asked me to go to the mall to pick up her ordered dress. As she needed it as soon as possible, she told me to take the shortcut across the jungle. While driving through the jungle, a chilling feeling was suddenly going through me. I had never seen such a desolate road before, and the path to the mall felt endless. Suddenly, a black car appeared out of nowhere, crashing head-on into the back of my car, which caused me to hit a tree and black out completely. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on a hospital bed with a broken leg, and my head was wrapped in bandages. The first person to appear before me was a doctor, who informed that I had been unconscious for nearly 2 weeks. Upon hearing this news, I felt incredibly disheartened as I realized that my wedding with Clover couldn't proceed as planned. After a while, a police officer showed up, stating that the police had been investigating my accident and needed my cooperation. He then slowly questioned me about the details I remembered regarding my accident. After trying my best to recall my memories, the only thing I could remember was a black car colliding with me. And just before becoming unconscious, I overheard the voices of 2 men having a conversation. Unfortunately, I couldn't actually hear what they said. The police officer mentioned that this information might not be very valuable, as it could simply be the voices of the police themselves. He explained that a police car on patrol found me covered in blood in the middle of the road, and at that time, there was nobody else at the scene. Upon hearing this, 2 hypotheses began to form in my mind. One was that someone accidentally caused the accident, but ran away out of fear. And 2, there might be some sinister force trying to harm me. After thinking about it for a while, I felt the second hypothesis was almost implausible because I have always been an upright and kind person, holding no grudges against anyone. However, regardless of the reason, I am still eager to know the identity of the person who caused the delay in my wedding. I told the police officer I hoped they would keep searching for the culprit and bring them to justice. The officer nodded slightly, advising me to contact them again if I remembered anything else about the accident, as it would help expedite the investigation process. A few days passed by. The person I was most eagerly waiting to see visit me at the hospital, Clover, was nowhere to be found. Since my car accident, she had mysteriously disappeared, and despite my efforts to reach out to her, I received no response. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a message notification. I eagerly opened it, hoping it was from Clover. However, to my surprise, it was from my younger brother, Edward.
Are you okay? As you know, I'm in the middle of my trip. That's why I won't be able to visit you anytime soon. Hope you can understand that.
Oh my God. Even my distant younger brother, who I rarely interacted with, was inquiring about my health. To introduce a bit about my younger brother, Edward, to be honest, I didn't know much about him because we didn't often interact. We were both born into a wealthy family, but from a young age, I was the only one who listened to our parents and valued the importance of money. Unlike me, Edward was very stubborn and lazy. He used our father's money to party and travel all the time. Because of this behavior, Edward never gained his approval. Our dad was angry with him several times for all the troubles he caused, threatening not to share his inheritance and give all rights to me. Although these were just warning words from my father to encourage Edward to change and live responsibly, they unintentionally created a rift between my father and Edward, and between Edward and me. Deep down, I always thought Edward had no reason to like me at all. That's why I felt truly surprised when he showed particular concern for my safety after hearing about my accident. After inquiring about my health, Edward began to ask about my car accident in great detail. Not only that, he also questioned me about everything the police had investigated regarding the culprit. Feeling slightly overwhelmed by Edward's continuous questions, I asked why he suddenly wanted to know so much. He explained that the police have to deal with multiple serious cases every day, such as terrorism, murder, and so on. Since my case wasn't serious, especially since no one died, they would pay very little attention to it. Edward was afraid that if things dragged on, not only I but also my family, including himself, could be at risk. He proposed that I withdraw the denunciation and let him ask a friend who is a detective to investigate this case for me. At that moment, I genuinely thought it was a great idea, and I was eager to find the culprit, so I agreed to follow my brother's plan. In the next 2 weeks, thanks to the proactive treatment at the hospital, my mental and physical health improved gradually. I often had nightmares about a hitman trying to murder me before, but those nightmares no longer haunted me. Each night, my sleep became deeper and deeper. Entrusting Edward with the task of finding the culprit made me feel much more at ease. However, that sense of security didn't last long. One night, while I was asleep, my nightmares officially turned into reality. A mysterious man silently entered my hospital room dressed as a nurse. Initially, I thought it was the nurse checking on me as usual, but no. That guy tried to inject some kind of medicine into the IV line. Luckily, I woke up on time, managed to stop him by grabbing his wrist and screaming for help. Realizing he was in a passive position, he panicked and escaped before the doctors and other patients' family members rushed into my room. At that moment, I was almost certain that the car accident wasn't just a hit and run. Someone had been and still was trying to harm me, and for some freaking reason, that person wanted me dead. I had a gut feeling that the person who tried to murder me and the one who caused the accident before could be the same person. So I immediately contacted Edward to inform him about the attack and provide further details about the attacker's characteristics so that his detective friend could have more clues to investigate. This was also the time when I began to notice a series of peculiarities about my brother. When I described the mysterious guy at the hospital as having blonde hair and a tattoo on his wrist, here's Edward's response.
Okay, I'll tell my friend to search for that man, but it won't be easy as many people have the same tiger tattoo.
At that moment, only one question popped up in my mind. How the hell did he know that guy had a tiger tattoo? Not only that, but Edward's messages also contain some very strange phrases like,
What a relief, that you were safe.
This is his response upon learning that the attacker had successfully escaped. Thinking for a while, I suddenly realized that this wasn't the first time Edward had sent me such weird messages by accident.
Damn, the police, I completely forgot about them.
On that day, I believed Edward was drunk due to excessive partying, hence the loss of control over his language like that. But when I looked back at our conversations, it seemed like everything wasn't as simple as I had thought. From the beginning, not only did Edward take the initiative to inquire about me, but also asked in great detail about what had happened, as if probing before and after taking such actions. Could it be Edward who was involved in the recent attacks I had experienced? Despite having admonished myself not to think negatively about my brother like that, the overwhelming number of suspicious signs prompted me to decide to find out the truth on my own. Well, I truly hoped my intuition was wrong. A few days later, as I was preparing to be discharged from the hospital, Clover, my fiancée, finally replied to my texts.
I heard you're going to be discharged from the hospital today. Do you need my help?
Initially, I couldn't contain my emotions and became angry with Clover for disappearing without saying a word to me all this time. But after learning that she was also hospitalized due to shock upon hearing about my accident, I realized I had wrongly blamed her. I took the initiative to make amends with her and promised that our wedding would be held shortly after my foot fully recovered. In the days that followed Clover's recovery, she always stayed by my side, taking care of me. Despite the continuous hardships we faced, I still felt grateful that our relationship remained strong. However, that was my thought before my fiancée began to reveal her true nature. Dating me for a long time, Clover was the one who understood me the most. Knowing very well about my desire not to live off my dad's money, but to start my own business. Exploiting that one day, she presented me with a business investment opportunity. She said that a friend of hers wanted to transfer his famous technology company to settle down abroad, that it would potentially become a gold mine for me if I bought it. Later on, despite the transfer price being up to $5 million, Clover still tried every possible way to persuade me to sign the contract as soon as possible. From saying that the company could earn $1 million per month to claiming that this investment would make our life easier in the future. Read up to here. You might think I'd be softened and agree to invest because of her, right? Hell no. I'm not that easily fooled. A few days ago, while I was taking a shower, I accidentally overheard a phone call between Clover and some mysterious person. Here's what I heard from her.
Don't worry, babe. He loves me. He'll sign that contract no matter what. When the plan succeeds, we'll be together forever.
That was exactly when I began to feel suspicious of her. After secretly checking her phone, I was extremely shocked to find Edward's call on her call list. As they had only met once at our family dinner, I didn't know what their relationship was, so I quietly hired a private detective to investigate both of them. And the truth was truly outrageous. Clover's real name is Abby, and she's actually Edward's girlfriend. Her approach to me was intentional and under the control of my brother. But I don't understand, what are these two planning to do with me? I immediately looked into the transfer contract that Clover wanted me to sign with her friend's company, only to find out that it was a shell corporation that sells smuggled electronic goods. It's clear they wanted to turn me into the CEO of that illegal company and get me into prison. I felt like bursting into tears because I couldn't believe my own brother could be so cruel to orchestrate all of this to harm me. Before I could even stabilize my emotions, my private detective continued to provide me with even more horrifying information. He had obtained a video recording of my entire car accident. This was footage from hidden cameras set up by biologists to record the activities of some rare animals in the forest. Watching the video, I was devastated to realize that the driver who hit me was also the one who attempted to murder me in the hospital, and stepping out of the car with him was Edward, who was supposed to be on a trip at that time. He had paid a hitman after everything was done. This confirmed that the voices of the two men I heard before becoming unconscious were indeed theirs, not the police. Surely they thought the accident was enough to kill me without considering that a police car on patrol would appear shortly after and save me in time. This unexpected betrayal pushed me to my breaking point, and I wanted to beat my brother up more than ever. However, I still wanted to know why Edward wanted to murder his own brother. So I decided to call Edward to confront him. After denying for a while, he finally admitted to all of his actions.
Yeah, you're right. I did everything, but you only have yourself to blame. It was your fault to become a perfect son of our father. I'm tired of being seen as the pathetic loser in our family.
Edward spoke with a bitter attitude. It turned out that all the things he did to me were just out of jealousy. I then told Edward that his wrongdoings would make him pay forever. I told him that our father has always cherished and trusted Harry. He intended to hold a board meeting after Edward returned from his trip to announce that he would give back all his shares to him.
No! You're definitely lying. Dad won't do that no matter what.
Well, whether I lied or not didn't matter at that point anymore. Edward had gone too far, and with sufficient evidence gathered, I decided to file charges against him for willful bodily harm and murder. Good luck being in jail, bro! Knowing that he might face a long prison sentence, Edward only began to show fear and apologize to me, trying to convince me to forgive him and withdraw my charges. I gotta say this, those were the most insincere apologies I had ever heard. Of course, my decision remained unchanged afterward. In the end, Edward was arrested along with his accomplice. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Although I forgave him, it was what he needed to be held accountable for. And me? Since I didn't want to rely on my father's wealth, I gave up my position and started my own business. Well, it didn't take long for me to achieve a certain level of success. That's the end of my story. If you found this story interesting, Please subscribe to our channel to support us in producing more fascinating stories.